Hey everybody, welcome to the Tuesday comic book preview stream. Sam, you kind of like get in the frame here. I was
I'll
like,
get
we're
closer.
there. You go. Yeah, don't be afraid to get up on me. All right. Hey, welcome to the comic book preview stream. It's Tuesday night. I'm Aaron. This is Sam. We're here at Fantasy Books and Games, and we love talking about comics. So we're going to show off some of the new stuff that's coming out tomorrow. I have a couple of books that came out last week. We didn't do the stream last week because I wasn't here, and apparently I'm the only one who knows how to use the technology. So I apologize that we didn't get to show off the new books last week. There were actually a few kind of big releases last week, so I was a little disappointed that I wasn't here to do it. That's why we're going to talk about them this week, though. But Sam,
I do. Okay.
when we start these, I always like to show off the facsimile reprints first because I'm an old person and I like old comics. But so there was actually two facsimiles last week. This is one of the reasons I was upset that we didn't get to do the stream. So a facsimile from last week that came out is Star Wars #1. This is the very first original Star Wars comic book from 1977. They got the license for Star Wars at Marvel, and this is adapted from the movie. I think the first three issues adapt the first movie. Beautiful art by Howard Chaykin. I really like this. Looks really cool. One of the neat things about this, like, I think it's neat to think about this in context of like, I'm sure Sam, you remember the 1970s very well, but like home video wasn't really a thing,
Right.
and so we're so spoiled today with streaming video, and you just like watch Star Wars whenever you want. But back in 1977, you had to go to the movie theater and pay your nickel or your quarter, whatever it cost to go to a movie back then.
Outrageous.
And so like you could get these comic book adaptations, and it was cool because you could, it's another way to experience the story without having to go to the movie theater. Or if it goes once it leaves theaters, you just don't get to see it again unless
Right.
there's another showing. So it's really cool that they do these just adaptations of movies and stuff. There we go. One of the things I also like about the Star Wars series that's really interesting is that it kind of basically saved Marvel from going bankrupt. Marvel was not in the best place in the 70s. Like their key talent, Jack Kirby, had left Marvel in 1970 to go work for DC. And generally speaking, the comic book industry was experiencing a downturn. Just sales were down and money was not good. And creatively, Marvel was not hitting the home runs the way they were a decade before in the 60s. And so, one of the things that really kept the company in the black was that they secured all of these toy licenses, and Star Wars turned out to be pretty dang popular, and it kept going as a series for like 150 some odd issues. And like that's they got Conan the Barbarian, Star Wars, GI Joe, Transformers, like all of those things were happening in the late 70s and the early 80s, and that's kind of one of the things that kept Marvel from having to go bankrupt. So that's just another little pointless piece of comic book history for you, Sam.
No, that's
Uh,
cool.
One of the things I do like about the Star Wars comic too, I'm just going to keep talking about it, is that this comic book series, like the first three issues, adapt the first movie, at the time the only movie.
Right.
And so then the series was so popular, it kept going with issue 4, 5, and 6. And those are just all new stories where they just had the writers and artists at Marvel just telling new Star Wars stories. And this was early in Star Wars becoming a juggernaut. And so George Lucas was kind of just rubber stamping everything, like, sure, do whatever you want, make me money. And this was before there was like a extended universe really established. And so these early Star Wars comics are actually really fun to read because they're kind of like weird and different and not totally like what you think of Star Wars is today, because it's had 30 years to kind of establish like what it is. And now that Disney owns it, it's like they know, they have the formula down of like what a new Star Wars thing looks like. But back then they were literally making it up as they go along. And so it's just kind of fun to see these like early versions of the characters like Han Solo, where they don't really have the whole backstory figured out, and they're just kind of doing whatever they think is neat for the comic.
So
So yeah. if you get a chance to read the other Marvel Star Wars, I do recommend them. They're really cool.
What did the other? So you said issues 1 through 3 adapt the first movie. Like
Yeah,
what? Like where in the timeline do those other like 4 and on cover?
they take place right after the movie.
Oh
Like
wow.
they just keep going, and then like in 1980, Empire Strikes Back comes out, and so like wherever they were in the comic book series, like they were like in the 40s, like 39 or 40, they just started adapting the Empire Strikes Back movie. Because I do have the issue, I think it's 41 that has it's like part two of the Empire Strikes Back, and that's where Boba Fett is introduced,
Oh nice.
and it's just the scene from Empire where he just stands there and does nothing for like one panel. But he was so popular they still put him on the cover. They're like, in this issue, Boba Fett, and he's like in the background of like one panel. But yeah, so Star Wars comics are cool. There's collected editions out there, but I think it's really neat that they did this facsimile reprint of issue 1. All right, I spent a lot of time talking about one facsimile that didn't even release this week. Another facsimile that released last week is Superman, and this is not Superman number 1. It's a little deceptive. This is Superman number 233. This was they put the number 1 on there to like kind of, I think it's like designed to trick you because it says number 1 best selling comics magazine. But like if you're just looking at it, you're like, oh, Superman number 1, but it's actually issue number 223. But this is a pretty famous issue from, I think it's 1970, and this is it's a beautiful cover by Neil Adams. And this was one of the issues that I feel like this was kind of bringing Superman out of the Silver Age, and this has a famous story in it. I just want to say once more that I always talk about this when I talk about these facsimiles. DC's reprint quality is just incredible. Like it's so good. This paper is just like the original paper that would have been printed on. And this is a kind of a famous story because this is the story where Superman becomes immune to kryptonite, and they just set that up as part of the lore where kryptonite no longer affects Superman. And it has this famous page right here where a criminal tries to stop Superman with kryptonite, and he just takes it and eats it. And really just funny looking panels of Superman just smiling as he's like crunching on this kryptonite. So yeah, great comic. Really classic Superman. Highly, highly recommended. Okay, let's get on to talk about some new comics this week, but not too new because we're still going to talk about facsimiles. But I'm not going to spend nearly as much time on them, I promise. Just a reminder that DC is reprinting the original Hush series from 20 years ago. This is Batman 615, and I don't even remember which part of Hush this is, but classic 2000. What did we say? 2003, 2001. Just look at these. I never thought I would miss an advertisement from a comic book from like the 2000s, but here we are. The Navy. What was? I thought there was. Oh yeah, here we go. Classic. Tobacco is wacko if you're a teen, and it's funny because like now these days, and Sam, I'm not gonna out you on stream, but these days we all know that smoking is really bad for you. Nobody
No
ever
good.
smokes. It's
No
no
one.
good. But back then, you know, it was still really cool to smoke cigarettes, and so they had this whole campaign in comic books to teach kids that smoking is stupid, and so yeah, it's just funny. I just funny to see those old ads, but just a reminder that that's out there. Another facsimile, one that I'm pretty excited about. Fantastic Four number 4. I really like that Marvel is reprinting these early Silver Age Fantastic Four comics because they're really good. This is the first appearance of Namor, and just a great cover. I just love this, like Namor kidnapping Susan Storm, and I believe this is the issue where they bring back Namor because there's a funny scene. I should have done my. Oh yeah, yeah. There's like I really like the way they do this, where they actually reference like Submariner comics from the 1940s, like Johnny Storm is reading a Submariner comic, and then by pure coincidence, he like walks by this like homeless guy who's got a big beard, and he uses his flame to like burn off the beard, and he's like, "Hey, it's the Submariner," and he's just been homeless this whole time. Like he's got amnesia and he doesn't know who he is. It's a pretty funny story, like classic Silver Age Stanley and Jack Kirby. But really, really good stuff. You know, I love me some Jack Kirby. So I do highly, highly recommend that. Okay, let's move on to I don't know. What do you want to talk about, Sam?
What do I want to talk about? Well,
What are you excited about?
I am excited about that.
This right here?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, coming out tomorrow, New Gods #5. Have you read this issue yet?
I have not read this
I
issue.
haven't read it either, so let's flip through it and spoil it for ourselves.
Yay.
I'm really enjoying this series. I'm really excited about this. One of my favorite things about this comic book series is that each issue opens with a short story by a different artist. And this one is by Wes Craig, who is an artist that I've been really become a really big fan of. He writes and draws the series Kea that I talk about frequently
Oh.
on this stream, and he's got a very unique art style. But it just, I mean, like, it looks so good. Like, it looks like it doesn't look like he's doing Jack Kirby, but his style works really well for a Jack Kirby style,
Yeah.
and I think that's what I like about it. And that's been one of my favorite things. Like I said, I haven't read this issue in question, so I can't speak to it about some of the specifics that happened in this issue. But my favorite thing about this series, and I can't remember if I've said this on a stream before, but I really love that it's written by Ram V and art is by Evan Cagle. And also, I'm wrong. The opening page was not Wes Craig. This is Andrew McLean, who I guess his style is kind of similar to Wes Craig, but this is the guy that does Headlopper. They both have a like a similar I don't know, similar enough that I confused it at first glance. But then I was able to look at the cover and I saw the name. Um, but what I like about this series, Ram V is doing a really good job of making a series that feels very modern. And I have often struggled when writers try to do a modern take on the New Gods,
Right.
because to me it's so tied to Jack Kirby and the work he did in the 70s, which is very old school. And a lot of people don't like old timey
It's
comics, you
it's
know.
worth a read though. New
Oh,
Gods,
absolutely.
yeah.
I love the Jack Kirby Fourth World stuff.
Yes.
And so I think that's why I'm enjoying this series so much, because it does feel like it's designed to appeal to both types of readers, people that like the old stuff, but also people that maybe wouldn't take the time to read a Jack Kirby comic because it's just a little too old fashioned, but they like more modern storytelling. I think you can really enjoy this because it is definitely written more like a modern storytelling style of book. So much so that I wasn't sure if I would like the first issue. I think you remember me
Mhm.
saying something like that, where I was like, it's a good first issue, but the way these modern writing styles are, it could just tank after like two issues, you know, and just go nowhere. But it's been really good,
Yes.
and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm really excited to read this issue. I don't know. I'm sorry. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, no, it's been really solid. I've been digging the art. The story's good. A lot of it pays honor to the mythology of the new gods. Like
Hmm.
I liked in the first issue where they made Orion kind of like drop his veil and you see
Yeah,
ugly Orion. It's like
yeah,
yeah,
that's good. Though,
yeah,
like they're just hitting all the right like things for the characters.
yes.
Yeah, it works really well. So yeah, if you haven't read New Gods, check it out. Also, I think this is kind of a big book coming out tomorrow. We'll talk about this. Marvel has been doing a series of Godzilla one shots where they pit Godzilla against all of their characters, and I think I talked about Godzilla versus Fantastic Four some weeks ago. Tomorrow is Godzilla versus Hulk, and I'm gonna show this on the downward camera because I gotta say, you know, I'm often accused of having strong opinions about variant covers. And if our friend Dan was here, he would make fun of me for that. But these variant covers for Godzilla vs. Hulk are all really good, and a lot of them do a good job of having a retro or vintage style to them. So I really like this one by Scott Koblish. Koblish, I believe is how it's pronounced. And this is an homage to like a classic issue of Hulk. Like so, it's that's why it looks like it's 1970s. And he even draws Godzilla the way Godzilla looked in the 1970s Marvel Godzilla style,
Oh, that's
the
cool.
way Sal Buscema drew him, which is not really like movie accurate, but that's just how he drew him because he, you know, back then he probably didn't even see the movies. I don't know. So I really like this cover a lot. But this cover is also really good, as you can see. This like a more modern Godzilla, but it's got Jet Jaguar on it, and just I like all the like the just looks like a classic cover. They got the banner like the Marvel Comics group, like 70s comics did. And there's yet one more retro comic cover. This one by Leonardo Romero, one of my favorite current artists, and he's even got the classic Godzilla logo. This was like the same style logo that was on the Marvel 70s Godzilla comic, and he's got Godzilla in the corner box. Honestly, I am having a hard time picking a favorite cover. Like they're all really, really good. Even the main cover, like not to disparage it, like this is really good. I like this version of Godzilla. And I think one of the things I like this, I did read this issue, and I did enjoy it. Probably because like here you can see the opening title page, they're kind of paying homage to the 1970s Godzilla comics, and they actually do have an issue. If you've never read the Marvel Godzilla comics, it does take place in the Marvel universe.
Oh, that's
The final issue has like the Avengers and everybody fighting Godzilla, and so that's a lot of fun. Oh, I'm sorry, Jess. Which one was your fave? Did you say that this one, the main one? You're gonna have to you have to describe it using your words, because I kind of like all of them, but anyway, I'm sorry. We'll continue. So, like, what I like about this comic is that it is definitely paying reverence to the '70s Godzilla and Hulk comics, and it actually takes place in the 1970s, which I also really appreciated. Which is probably why I like this one, because it's very old school, very kind of retro. Just like it's got the old classic Thunderbolt Ross and classic version of the Hulk. Even Godzilla is kind of like it's like the classic monsters. They got Mecha Godzilla there, and I don't want to spoil. I guess there's kind of a spoil on the next page, so I won't spoil it. But Hulk shows up, and it's just, you know what? It's just fun monster comics. Hulk and Godzilla. I liked it a lot more than the Fantastic Four issue, which I thought was, you know, what's my catchphrase? It was just fine.
yeah.
It was I don't have much to say about it. Whereas I really really liked this Godzilla Hulk comic, so highly recommend that one. So far, it's the best of the Godzilla Marvel books. All right, what else is coming out tomorrow? We'll mention this real quick. I actually wasn't planning on talking about this, but there is I think it's a one shot. I'm not certain. This is Web of Venomverse. Now, if you've heard me talk about comic books, especially Spider-Man comic books, you know I have a pretty low tolerance for all of the verse stuff, Spider-Verse and Venomverse.
Oh shoot, you're out of luck.
I know. That's like where they're going with it right now. Everything is the verse, you know.
Yeah.
And so I really like wasn't going to uh, talk about this on the stream, because I was like, another Venomverse book, whatever. But I just decided to flip through it to see, I do my due diligence. Like I know people like Venom and people like their Venomverses, so I was like, let me flip through it and see if there's anything worth talking about. And lo and behold, there is. There's 4 short stories in this issue, 2 of them written by Matt Groom, who I'm not familiar with. But what caught my eye was that there's a story with art by Juan Jose Rip, who is an artist that I really, really like. And so first of all, I will say I was flipping through it, and I thought I saw this story. There's like a little Venom mouse, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cute. I like Venom. I like Venom mouse. So you know what, Venomverse, whatever. But Venom mouse, I'm here for it. But no, I was like, Juan Jose Rip, let me check that out. And boom, not only is it Juan Jose Rip, it's starring the Power Pack, who is a very old school comic book that I happen to be a pretty big fan of. Just classic all ages superhero kids. It's a family of kids and they're superheroes. And I think I only like them because they showed up in the X-Men a lot. Just because I don't know why. I think they were just friends.
They're not mutants, are they?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
But like Franklin Richards becomes a main member, and I guess he's technically
Oh,
is a mutant or was a
right.
mutant at one time. But no, they're just like kids with superpowers, and they. I think it was just because I think was it Louise Simonson created it,
Mhm.
and she was editor of the X-Men books. So they're just
Oh,
like,
okay.
oh, put the power pack in there, give that characters a little boost so that people will go buy their book. And you know what? It worked because I'm like, oh, the power pack. The power pack were in my all-time favorite Wolverine issue, which is Uncanny X-Men 205. That's by Barry Windsor Smith and Chris Claremont, and it's the best Wolverine story ever put to paper. But anyway, we don't need to talk about Wolverine. We talk about the power pack, and this is it's a pretty straightforward short story of the power pack at home and getting into their shenanigans and arguing with each other, and then Venom breaks into their house to try and find something because their dad is a scientist. That's how they
Right.
have superpowers. But it looks really good. Like I really like his art. He's got this like full painted colors on here, and I think I should double check the credits to see who did the colors. I don't think it's him, but he just does. I think this is something I kind of complain about a lot in a lot of modern books. Like his got really full pages. Like you see like full backgrounds here. It just the pages don't look empty. They look really dense. And they get into a fight with Venom, and just yeah, I don't even want to spoil necessarily what happens. But you know what? I was prepared to just skip over this entirely, and it turns out now I'm actually like maybe gonna buy it just because of that power pack story, because it's good.
You
It's
like what you
I
like.
like what I like
Yeah.
exactly. Speaking of things that I really like Superman. Coming out tomorrow, the Superman. What is this? The Summer of Superman special. Haven't had a chance to read through this whole thing, but this is a pretty hefty, oversized one-shot story, and it has three writers on it. Two of them are currently writing Superman, Mark Waid and Joshua Williamson, and also Dan Slott writes a chapter. Who I never really been the biggest fan of Dan Slott, but I don't think he's terrible. I don't. I guess that's where I stand on it.
He's just fine.
He's just well, actually maybe a little bit below just fine
Oh,
because he did some stuff on Jesse Bell's. What is your favorite comic and character? Oh yeah, that's a good question. Oh, I think I know, but I won't say. But she might need me to say because she's not going to remember. But while you're thinking about that, I'll continue to show off this Superman. This is told in three chapters, and each writer writes a different chapter.
okay.
And so I like that it takes place. I mean, spoiler alert, it kind of takes place through a different spans of time. But I like that it's set up with in Smallville with Superboy, and I love me some classic Superboy. It's very Silver Age feeling, which I think is one another thing that I really like. I mean, like Crypto right there,
Yup.
and we all love Crypto. But I like that modern DC, especially Mark Waid, but Joshua Williamson is leaning into it as well. They just really have this like reverence for the Silver and Bronze Age of Superman, and I like that they're incorporating that into the modern styles. It doesn't feel like it's overtly retro. It just I think they do a good job of kind of mixing it into just modern, like a modern comic book, a
It's
modern superhero.
updated.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
updated, but
It's
there's
updated.
there's definitely like I said, a reverence that comes through, and like I just love this panel right here where Clark, this is teenage Clark Kent, and he's talking to Lana Lang, who is his the town sweetheart and his first crush. And a supervillain shows up, and he has to come up with an excuse so that he can go fight the supervillain. And he goes, "Ugh, my stomach! I had too many pancakes for breakfast. I need some antacid." And I was laughing because like I was reading a comic book from 1960, as I often do, and he used almost that exact same excuse in a panel. Like there's a panel of Clark Kent, like a supervillain shows up and Clark's at the office, and he's like, "Oh, I must have had a sour pickle at lunch. I need to go to the bathroom." And it's just really silly, and I just appreciate that they bring that energy to these modern comics. Jesse, did you ever answer that? What's your favorite comic and character? I think I would answer for her. It's possibly here's the two answers I would give. Maybe three if you count Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon might be her favorite.
Oh,
Oh, that's a toughie. Okay, yeah, that's a toughie because you didn't read DC or Marvel, but you sucker for Rogues, Angst, and X Men. Um,
is that what you were about to guess?
no, I was gonna say her favorite comics are The Crow.
Okay.
Also, would be her favorite comic and character, or Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Oh, See,
Uh,
I've never actually read that.
you've never read Johnny the
No.
Homicidal Maniac? I recommend it. It's a good comic.
Okay.
It's weird. I mean, it's definitely a thing of its time. Like, let's
Yeah.
just talk about Johnny for the rest of the night. Like, I love Invader Zim,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's definitely a thing of its time. Love the Crow. Yeah, the Crow rules. But yeah, no, Johnny is it's weird and funny, but also if you read it now, I do think it would kind of have that thing where you're like, this feels very familiar
Yeah.
because it's a comic that influenced so much type of comedy and humor of that era that now seems really commonplace.
Yeah.
Whereas like at the time it was very unique in what it was doing.
Hmm.
You know me so well. There is a TikTok meme I would make for that. Okay, yeah, and you know me so well that I don't do TikTok memes, but yeah. So anyway, back to Superman. I haven't finished this issue, but I read the first chapter by Mark Waid and I really liked it. Just classic Silver Age. So I'm very excited to see where it goes from there. Okay, I got a few more books. Talk about let's talk about this one big release that we didn't get to talk about last week, but I know Sam, you definitely have some thoughts on this.
I have some thoughts.
I'm definitely talking about The Amazing Spider-Man #1. This is like the 25th #1 for Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know. This is legacy number 965. But most importantly, this is the beginning of the new ongoing run. Uh, the meme is what's your favorite Pop Tart flavor? I do people have a favorite Pop Tart flavor? I mean, I guess
Absolutely.
so.
Cinnamon sugar.
Cinnamon sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess maybe I don't have a favorite Pop Tart flavor, but I definitely have a flavor that's not my favorite, and it's cinnamon sugar.
Really? Oh, I wait. Am I thinking cinnamon sugar or the brown
What's the difference?
They're both delicious.
Okay, okay, they're both delicious.
Yes.
All right.
And you don't like them? That's
I
crazy.
no, I don't. I don't dislike them. They're just not my favorite.
They're just fine.
Which acknowledging that they're not my favorite does support the idea that I do probably have a favorite. I've just never thought about it. I like red flavor. I'm kind of like in that category. I just like red. Anything
Yeah.
that's red is probably good. It's some
Yeah.
kind of berry or possibly chili, but it's going to be good. I bet on red always. Um, but oh, he names a generic one, but the real answer is Spider-Man tie-in. Oh yes. Yeah, this is talking about Spider-Man. This is the beginning of the new ongoing run, written by Joe Kelly, art by Pepe Larraz, and we were talking earlier, Sam, and you we were talking about how the previous couple of years of Spider-Man has been not well liked, and you assumed I would not mention that on the stream, and you are incorrect, sir. I'm not even saying that as somebody who read it because I read one issue randomly and I said, oh, I'm not reading any more of this. But a lot of people that I know read the book, a lot of customers. I'm hearing this from people that are buying the book. They were very unsatisfied with the way Spider-Man has gone for the last couple of years. And I have a good friend of mine who's a big Spider-Man fan who pretty much buys anything Spider-Man, and he had to stop because they were putting it out like every other week, so it was like 2 Spider-Man books a month, and it's like that's a lot of books for something that you don't even like, and so I always wondered how much of the 2 books a month thing was just them trying to rush through it so they could get it done as fast as possible and reboot the series. And you know what? For what it's worth, this is a pretty good reboot. You read this issue, right, Sam?
I did.
This
I liked it.
this came out last week. I should say, if I didn't say so. I really wanted to talk about it because it's kind of a big release. It's kind of a big deal. So what did you think, Sam?
I thought it was good. As somebody who hasn't been, because I am not a spider person, Peter frankly makes me anxious.
Wait. Is he maybe a little too relatable?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Nothing. I mean, it's that Parker luck
Yeah.
that I feel like anybody can relate to, where it just seems like nothing's going your way. But this is this dude's whole life. Like,
Yeah.
it never goes Peter's way. This was a really good entry point for somebody who, like myself, has not been reading a lot of Spider-Man titles over the last couple of years, it caught me up to date with all the things that Peter like. I think in
I
those
like
first
this.
couple pages,
Yeah,
oh yeah, the Rhino
this
stuff,
Rhino page is beautiful.
yeah,
Like beautiful double page spread and classic, like one of the classic Spider-Man villains too. But yeah, I agree. These first couple of pages pretty much just hit all the notes.
right.
It's like a really elegant way to give you all of Peter's backstory. Basically, he's going on a series of job interviews, and the interviewers are asking him questions, and he's trying to answer them while also like you're getting a panel that's showing like what really happened and then what he's saying to try and cover for that.
Right.
Like I like this where Sandman hits him in the head with a manhole cover, and so he's got this big bruise streak on his face. And they're like, "What's with the bruise?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll never ride city bike again." Um, Sidetrack. They're one of
Yeah.
my favorite Spider-Man comics of all time. It came out like 15 years ago. It was in the series Strange Tales, where Marvel had a bunch of like alternative and underground comic book creators just tell short stories about the characters,
Oh, that sounds
and it's
awesome.
really good. We have the books on the shelf, so you can come in and buy these books today. One of my favorite stories is a Spider-Man story, and it's by I believe it's artist Paul Mayberry, and it's a series of misunderstandings where he gets into a fight with a villain and then gets like beat up, and so he's like covered in bruises, and he keeps having to make excuses because he's like living with Aunt May, and Aunt May's like, "Oh, why do you have a black eye?" And he's like, "Oh, I fell down the stairs, and oh, I walked into a door." And the whole series of misunderstandings, this is when Peter's married to MJ, and Aunt May assumes that MJ is abusing Peter.
Oh my
And
god.
because like he's like trying to keep the secret from Aunt May, and so he's like, "Oh, I walked into a door," and then he looks at like Mary Jane for like help, and she's like, and Aunt May misunderstands it to think that he's like afraid to tell her the truth that Mary Jane's beating him, and it is hilarious.
Oh
It's one of my
jeez.
favorite Spider-Man comics of all time. But anyway, that's get Strange Tales. I highly
Okay.
recommend it. It's also got a comic by Jonan Vasquez, creator of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Well, how about
Yeah,
that?
I forget. I think it's a Wolverine story that's in there. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Anyway, back to the relevant topic at hand. This current Spider-Man reboot. It's pretty good.
It's good. It covers a lot of ground. I mean, there's a lot of issue in there
Hmm.
because there's the main story, then there's like a Norman Osborn story, and then
Yeah,
there's a third.
there's a backup by John Romita Jr., who's one of the artists that was drawing Spider-Man for the last couple of years. But then, yeah, you're right. There is a third backup story that kind of teases. It's just a tease for like stuff that's going to be happening in the future. So I don't really want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, this comic was good, and I think and I hate to say that because like I don't really need to be reading a new comic book series right now. I read so much, but yeah, it's a solid Spider-Man story. Like you said, it hits all the right notes. It's got like just feels like classic Spider-Man, and I'm just glad that like that's what I would expect from Joe Kelly. He's a veteran. He's been writing comics since the '90s, so this is a guy that like he knows how to write a
Nice.
superhero comic book. He's written Spider-Man before too, so I think he just like hit all the right notes
Was
with
it
this first issue.
was it nonstop Spider-Man that he wrote or
I don't remember. He's
okay.
written a few. I know he for sure wrote the Spider-Man Deadpool crossover, which is what I always think of because Joe Kelly is the guy that I attribute the success of Deadpool. He wrote the Deadpool
Ah,
solo series in like 96, 97, and that is what he kind of basically created the what we now think of as Deadpool. Before Joe Kelly, Deadpool was kind of a different character.
mhm.
And but he's also written Spider-Man a few times, and it probably was nonstop Spider-Man. I
They were talking about it at the other shop.
Yeah, well, there you
Yeah.
go. So it
Yeah.
probably I'll defer to them on that one.
Yeah.
I haven't read every Spider-Man comic out there, but yeah, it's a good issue. It hits, like I said, it hits all the right notes. It does a good job. I really like the way they kind of set up an ongoing mystery, but it doesn't feel like too much of a tease,
Yeah.
like where it's just a shadowy figure in the background. Like they actually show the villain, which I
Right.
thought was really good. Like it's just like again, they don't. It's not too much of a tease. Like they're letting you know that there's something going on in the background, but then they show you who it is, and it's like, okay, it gets you a little excited for it. They're not just doing like a Lost thing where it's all just one big mystery and you don't know where it's going to go, which I feel like a lot of comics do that these days.
Yeah. Don't even know what it's about
Right,
until
yeah.
like yeah.
Until you get to that final issue, and then you're like, "Oh, this is no good. I can't believe I wasted 2 years reading this."
Mhm.
But yeah, so everybody that has been complaining about Spider-Man for the last couple of years, I think you will be pleased. You will be satisfied. I think one thing too we didn't really mention, but the art by Pepe Larraz is really good, and that goes a
Yes.
long way to enjoying a comic book. Like we showed that double page spread, like just looks really cool. But I do think, I've complained before that I think sometimes Marvel's books don't always look great, and I don't know why that is, other than I think their books look the way they want them to look, and I just don't like them in general. I think DC has better artists these days, but Pepe Larraz is one of the better artists working at Marvel, and yeah, he just who would have thought when you put like a veteran writer and a popular artist who's really liked, your book is really good. It's a really good comic, and the fans will like it. So if you like, again, I just want to reiterate, if you've been burned out on Spider-Man or you didn't like the last couple of years of it, now's the time to check it out. I think this is actually the strongest first issue for a Spider-Man like extended run that I've read in a long time, because a lot of times I feel like Spider-Man's been very generic for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's really, really good. I don't know, anything else you want to add?
How long is Joe Kelly, like how many issues are they slated to write?
That's a good question. I think it's at least a year, but I
Okay.
don't actually know. Like, I know that this is his run. Like, he's going to be on it for a little while, but I don't know if it's like just a year or if it's planned to be more.
Will they make it to the 1,000 issue, do you think?
That would be cool
Yeah.
if they did. I mean, they're at 965. I mean, if they start doing it twice a month, they'll get there really quick. And I won't be surprised if they try to do something like that, just
Yeah.
to like to punch it up and get to that anniversary
Right.
issue quicker. I mean, because there was that period where like many years ago where Spider-Man was coming out 3 times a month. Amazing Spider-Man. That's how they pumped up the numbers to get it to 965 now. Yeah, it was coming out. What they did was they canceled all other Spider-Man books.
Okay.
So there wasn't like a Web of Spider-Man or a Spectacular Spider. It was just Amazing Spider-Man, but it was almost weekly. It came out 3 times a month, and it was. I get why they did it, because they're basically, or all their books are kind of like a crossover anyway. So
Right.
just put it all under one book. But then you can also pump up them numbers for like one year. You got like 3 years worth of Amazing Spider-Man numbers. So anyway, I think we've talked enough about Amazing Spider-Man. I
Yeah.
don't know. Did you have anything you wanted to?
It was good.
It was
Yeah.
good. You heard it here first, folks. It was good. All right. Also coming out tomorrow. I got I got 4 other books here. One we're just going to mention briefly because I don't really have to talk about GI Joe any more than I already do. But I really, really like that they're doing these silent missions issues. And this is about the character Spirit, who is a very cool GI Joe Native American. And also, just want to point this out: this cover and the writer of the issue is Leonardo Romero, one of my favorite artists that I mentioned earlier on this stream. He did one of the variant covers for Godzilla versus Hulk.
Oh, cool.
He did one of the cool retro ones with the retro logo. So yeah, awesome, awesome artist. I kind of wish he was drawing the interior, but I understand. Oh, I take it back. Oh my god, this is my first time opening this issue. He is drawing the interior. Oh my god, I feel like such a doofus. I don't even want to flip through this any more than I already have, because I'm really, really looking forward to reading it. But just if you weren't aware, they're doing this series of silent issues, no text or dialogue. It's just all beautiful art. So how about that? Leonardo Romero, one of the coolest artists working right now. Whole issue dedicated to him, dedicated to a cool GI Joe. I am gonna read that the first thing when we turn off this stream. Okay. Also coming out tomorrow, I got 3 more books. One of them I really, really, really enjoyed, and the other two I think are just fine. And I'm not going to tell you which ones are which.
Oh, do I get to guess?
Oh, can you guess? Do you think you can guess?
I bet you really enjoyed Mothra.
You are correct.
Oh my
I
god.
really enjoyed Mothra. I liked the first issue a lot. We talked about that when that came out. This is issue 2, and art by
Ooh,
story, and the story is by Sophie Campbell, and she also does some of the art, but also there's some art in here by Matt Frank. He just, I think most of the art is by Matt Frank. It looks like, and Sophie Campbell does page 6, or perhaps page 6 is both of them together. I'm not sure if I'm reading that correctly because this looks like Sophie Campbell's art, so maybe I'm just misreading it. But I enjoy this comic quite a bit. It looks cool, really awesome art. The first issue is pretty dense. The main characters go back in time to like dinosaur time, and there's just like monster kaiju and dinosaurs all over the place. And yeah, it just looks awesome. I you
yeah,
know
the art is
I love dinosaurs, but the art is really strong.
yeah.
Like just really really cool looking, and it's all Mothra focused. Like it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice that there's not like you get a Mothra story that doesn't have to also have Godzilla in it because everything is kind of Godzilla focused these days. Oprah Smash says, "How is that Vatican comic any good?" I haven't had a chance to read it.
I
did you? Oh,
I
what?
did.
Lay it on us, Sam. What did you think?
It was pretty good. I liked the art style was very quick. Like you could tell it was very quickly rendered,
Oh, I got you.
and like I kind of that complements Mark Millar's got a very like screenwriting heavy art style. Would you agree with that?
I think he almost created that, or not created that, but like standardized it in the comic book
Yeah,
industry. Like everybody that's doing screenwriting comics is copying the success of him
right.
that he had with it.
Yeah, this definitely felt like a movie treatment or a movie
Yeah,
script or something like that.
and he's kind of had that going for him for a long time, ever since like he was always one of the first comic book creators to have like successful movies based off of his comics,
Right.
and like he had that Netflix deal. Like that dude is rolling in the dough from licensed stuff based off of his comics.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good start. I mean, if you like vampire stuff, I would highly recommend it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like I said, I haven't had a chance to read it. I'm really like I'm not the first one to jump on a new Mark Miller comic because, like you said, they feel like they're. I mean, it's the definition of writing for the trade. Like
Right.
back in the day, it would be everything would be 5, maybe 6 issues, and it's all designed to just kind of be read as a one book.
Right.
So I kind of stopped paying attention to his monthly books because of that, and then anything that looks interesting, I'll pick up the trade. But you liked the
I
first
liked
issue.
it. Yeah, it was
Okay.
good. It was a
Well,
good
good.
start.
Well, there you go. It was good, he says. But yes, Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, also highly recommend this. If you haven't read the first issue, check it out. I really enjoy it. Also, okay, final 2 issues to talk about. We will save this one for last. We're going to talk real briefly, talking about legacy numbering. Tomorrow, Wolverine number 8, but also number 400 comes out tomorrow because this is the world that we live in now where everything has to get rebooted just to let you know that it's a new series so that you can pick it up. But also, we're going to celebrate the legacy of it being the 400th issue, even though it's only issue 8 in this run. I think it's pointless and confusing, but I guess you can't argue with the numbers. Whenever they put out a number 1 issue, it does sell better.
Right.
So, it is what it is. I have not been following the main series. I decided to pick this issue up because it has 3 stories in it, 2 of them by the main creators, and then one backup story by Daniel Warren Johnson, who is like, I don't know, you would call him maybe is he having like a moment right now? He's kind of like comics darling Daniel Warren Johnson. Like he's writing Transformers. He's doing that Moon is Following Us series, which I've talked about every time it comes out. Like that dude, he's got a huge fan base right now, and I'm one of them. I love his work. So I'm like, okay, Daniel Warren Johnson writing and drawing a Wolverine story. I'm there. But I did decide to, since I am going to get this issue, and it's an oversized anniversary issue since it's issue 400. I decided to flip through the main story. I did not read it because I saw that the main villain is the Adamantine, which is the primal force of the ancient metal on which the alloy adamantium is based. I read that sentence and I was just like, nah, never mind. I don't like when they try to add like this extra layer of mysticism to everything.
Yeah.
Like I don't need sentient adamantium that like takes over people that have adamantium in their body. Like I just don't need that.
You said you didn't read it. You pretty much summarized
I,
it.
I think I did.
Yeah.
I just read the intro and like flipping through it, that's kind of looks like it's what's happening. He kind of fights a golden adamantium version of himself. You know,
There's- yeah.
I'm Wolverine is a cool character, and you can do a lot of stuff with him. So, and when you're putting out a monthly book, you got to just kind of do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
This
yeah,
is the interesting stuff though with the Wendigo.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
have you? I'm sorry,
I would highlight that.
Sam.
Yeah.
Did I just talk over you? Are you reading the Wolverine series?
I'm a little behind. But,
Okay.
I'm like 1 or 2 issues behind. I don't think I'm current.
Okay.
The interactions between Wolverine and there's a Wendigo who has a little bit of its capacities left and doesn't want to
Oops.
just consume human flesh constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a little bit of like a because like Wendigo is obviously tied to Wolverine's history because
Right.
Wolverine's first appearance, as we all know, was Incredible Hulk 181, where Wolverine fought Hulk and Wendigo. So Wendigo is kind of tied to Wolverine. So that's cool that they're using Wendigo
Yeah.
in this. But so you like that part though?
I like that aspect of the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to like spoil anything through here, but I just want to skip to that Daniel Warren Johnson comic. Yeah, look at that, beautiful. I like the way this story. Again, I don't want to show too much of it, but it's kind of told as like a fable, and Wolverine works in that context where he's kind of just this force of nature. You know,
Yeah.
he's like a metaphor for revenge and samurai also because that's a big part of Wolverine. Samurai and revenge. Uh, very very cool looking. Very, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. It's a shame it's only an 8-page story and not just a full issue by Daniel Warren Johnson because I think like yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson is everywhere for real though. Good for him. I agree. Good for him. He's just a really really great artist, and I'm glad he's as successful as he is. But boy howdy, do I wish he could just do like a full Wolverine comic. That would be chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But I'll take what we can get, and I did enjoy that. Oh, another thing I wanted to point out, just because I'm an egomaniac. One of the things I like about this is an anniversary issue, so they got this thing in the back. They have a cover gallery of the all 400 issues of Wolverine. So like this page is like the first 100 issues. This page is issues 101 through 200, and you know, not to brag or nothing, Sam, but like I have every comic
I
on
was
this
about
page.
to ask.
Like I have this whole page,
Oh my god.
and I have about 80% of this page, and I also have a significant portion of this page, and that's kind of where I tapped out, like right around here. This House of M, yeah, that's where I was. Civil War, that's where I was done.
That's where you were done.
Yeah.
I have the trade. I don't have the single issue.
But yeah, I think it's still cool that they do this cover gallery, just to kind of like see the whole history of the Wolverine comic book series, which started in 88 or 89 with his first solo series. And it is also a big deal because he was the first X-Men character to have a lengthy ongoing like a solo series. Like none of the other X-Men have really been able to carry it. Like I think the X-Men are all really interesting characters, but most of them work best in the context of being on a team.
Right.
And Wolverine's like just the way his character is designed, he works really well as a solo character with this like mysterious backstory, and you know, because he's a traveling warrior type
Right.
guy, so it's easy to do an ongoing series where he just travels around and gets into shenanigans. Whereas you know, Jubilee, you know, I love Jubilee, but how many stories are you going to tell about her, you know, living in the mall and
Yeah.
playing arcade games and then joining the X-Men, and then what is she going to do? I don't know. Anyway, Wolverine 400 coming out tomorrow. Definitely check it out for the Daniel Warren Johnson story. All right, final issue we're going to talk about. We're getting near the end of our time slot. Absolute Flash #2 comes out tomorrow. I don't remember, Sam. Did you read issue #1?
I read issue number 1.
Did we talk about it on the stream? Do you remember? Were you?
I don't know if that was me or not.
Okay. Well, I mean, Did you like issue number one?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. I mean, that was my response too.
Yeah.
I think it was. I didn't like it as much as Absolute Martian Manhunter,
No.
which absolutely blew me away.
Right.
I also didn't like it as much as Absolute Wonder Woman, which is really good, possibly the best of the Absolute books. And I didn't like it as much as Absolute Superman, which I think is pretty good. Uh, but I definitely liked it more than Absolute Batman because I am a hater.
Yeah.
And I also really liked it more than Absolute Green Lantern, which I thought was a very boring first issue. And I think we did talk about that.
We talked about Green Lantern.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it was pretty dull. So Absolute Flash, it's it's pretty okay. It's written by Jeff Lemire, and I'm not super familiar with the artist. I forget his name. Uh, Robles. But this issue, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it kind of goes exactly where I predicted it was going to go, which is that Wally West like gets the Flash powers. I guess we can say like we didn't want to spoil. Whenever I talked about issue one on the stream, I didn't want to spoil the ending. But now issue two is out,
Right.
so like the big twist on the final page of issue one is that Barry Allen was dead, and Wally West is like convinced that he killed him because he became the Flash powers, and then he like woke up in this cave and Barry's skeleton was there, and he's like freaking out. And then all of these villains show up, and they're working for the government, trying to bring Wally West in. And Wally West is a teenager in this, and his dad is a scientist working with Barry Allen on this like top secret Flash project, and Wally becomes a Flash. Pretty straightforward, but it goes exactly where I thought it did, where Wally is kind of jumping around in time because, as we all know, Flash has time travel powers, but he can't control his powers, so he doesn't really like know where he is or who he is, and he's experiencing it all at the same time. So that's why he's like freaking out. I like the art; it does a good job of just being crazy and difficult to follow, just because that's he's like falling through the time stream and weird stuff like that. So it's again, it continues. I don't imagine you've read issue two yet.
I have not.
It continues to be pretty fine.
Okay.
It's good. If you enjoyed the first issue well enough, you will enjoy issue two.
Yeah.
There is another final page twist, which I will not spoil, but it does sort of feel like the comic is set up with these beats where like every issue ends with a full page, kind of like a reveal that like will set up for the next issue. It's very Mark Miller, actually, now that you talk about it. I always felt like he also kind of like popularized that, where it's like every issue would have like a big, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but like a big moment,
like a full page.
It would always be like a full page.
I'm
yeah.
thinking about like Old Man Logan when Hawkeye gets shot in the eye.
Yes, yes. It's something like, and that's definitely what's going on here. There's like a full page moment that also is like, I don't know. I don't want to spoil it, but it's there, and I enjoyed it enough. But again, it didn't make me like super psyched the way that
add it to your
I didn't add it to my poll immediately like I did with Absolute Martian Manhunter. I mean, I bought that like immediately. Like the rest of the series, because they told me, I told you, I'm pretty cautious about some of these things, where I won't necessarily buy issue one right away because it might not go anywhere. But our Absolute Martian Manhunter, I don't even care. I bought that first issue and the rest of the series could be terrible, and that was a brilliant first issue. So I'm all in.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got for today. I have one last thing I guess I will mention because I am a total sellout. But if you have been following this stream, and if you follow me, you know that I am also an independent comic book creator. And right now I have my second issue of my comic book series, Hamlet Mania, is on Kickstarter right now, and you can back the issue and support it. Look at that tiny little postcard. But there's even a QR code if you think you can read that. But you can go to Kickstarter, find Hamlet Mania, and it is me and my friend Greg McCrary. It's our adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, but told with outer space wrestling aliens.
That's so cool.
It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with it. So definitely check it out. You can get issue one if you missed it. You can also pick it up here in the store. We do have issue one on the shelf right now. I should have probably brought it in to show it off, but I didn't. So
you
maybe
got the postcard.
I got the postcard. That's good enough. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Like our friend Dan says, there's comics out there for everybody. It's not all just superhero stuff. So come on down to Fantasy Books and Games, buy some comic books. You can get them from somewhere, but you should definitely get them from us because then you can come in and talk to us about comics, me and Sam
Yes.
specifically, because we like talking about comics. All right, that's it for the night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.
Bye.